lights go out. 24 cars launch into the unknown. Adrenaline at maximum. Cold tires searching for grip, and everyone fighting for the same piece of asphalt. In those first few seconds, a single misjudgment doesn't just ruin your race, it can ruin 5 others and turn a championship fight upside down. The margins are measured in centimeters, the consequences in millions of dollars and months of recovery. In Formula One, that first corner is a battlefield. And between 2012 and 2015, 2 men turned that battlefield into their personal demolition derby. They weren't the fastest, they weren't the most decorated, but no one commanded the attention of race stewards quite like these 2 drivers. One, a gifted Frenchman with genuine pace, but a habit of misjudging space, like a drunk parallel parker. The other, a Venezuelan missile with GP2 gold, and a sudden urge to send it into gaps that existed only in his imagination. Separately, they were chaos. Together, they were the FIA's worst nightmare. The Grosjean era begins. Romain Grosjean returned to F1 full-time in 2012 with Lotus, and almost immediately he made sure the world remembered his name. Just not for the reasons he probably hoped. He was quick, no one denied that, but he had a problem. Romain treated Turn 1 like a personal game of bowling, and the cars around him were the pins. Early in 2012, whispers in the paddock grew louder. Drivers started watching Grosjean at lights out like hawks, planning escape routes before Turn 1 even arrived. In the garages, the sentiment was clear. He doesn't look, he just sends it. Give him a car's width, and somehow he'll still find a way to hit you. All of it built toward a single flashpoint. Spa, 2012. La Source, tight hairpin. Grosjean squeezes Hamilton toward the pit wall, misjudges the space by mere centimeters, and in a split second, Hamilton's McLaren is hooked. Both cars cannon across the grass into the first corner like guided missiles.
Oh dear, Romain Grosjean and Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton all coming to grief at La Source.
What follows is pure chaos. Grosjean's Lotus is launched over the nose of Hamilton's car and straight across the apex, clipping Perez, smashing into Kobayashi, and most terrifyingly, flying over the top of Alonso's Ferrari, missing his helmet by inches. 4 cars were eliminated instantly: Grosjean, Hamilton, Alonso, and Perez, while others limped away with damage. Alonso, a key title contender that year, could have been seriously injured. Instead, he climbed out furious and shaken. The paddock was stunned. The FIA didn't hesitate and handed Grosjean a 1-race ban, the first in nearly 2 decades, and fined €50,000, leaving him with a reputation he'd never fully shake. Mark Webber brands him a first-lap nutcase. Grosjean had built quite the collection of first-lap disasters, and Spa 2012 was the crown jewel. Monaco 2012 followed close behind. Alonso on the inside, Schumacher on the outside, and Grosjean in the middle, turning the opening corner into a 3-car pinball machine. Suzuka 2012 brought more of the same. Turn 1, he misjudged his braking and slid into Mark Webber's Red Bull, prompting Webber's now famous insult. Hungary 2013 showed both sides of Romain in one race. A brilliant off-track overtake on Button, followed by contact and a penalty later. His chaos wasn't limited to the first lap either. Sometimes he just manufactured it. At Monaco 2013, he reminded everyone he could even crash into the back of Daniel Ricciardo's Toro Rosso in the pit lane while leaving his box. And as late as Russia 2015, he proved he didn't even need another car to create a disaster, losing the rear all by himself at Turn 3 and slamming into the wall. For Grosjean, chaos wasn't planned. It was instinct. Turn 1 was his stage, and everyone else was part of the show. Enter the Venezuelan missile. Then came Pastor Maldonado, Venezuelan GP2 champion, raw speed, occasional brilliance, and absolutely zero chill. He exploded onto the F1 scene with Williams, carrying the hopes of a nation and a sponsorship budget the size of a small country. And in Spain 2012, he shocked the paddock by beating Alonso to take his first and only Grand Prix victory.
A new winner in Formula One! It's Pastor Maldonado ahead of Fernando Alonso and down at Williams with their first Grand Prix victory!
For a moment, it looked like the sport had found a new star. But that star was attached to a stick of dynamite. Because for every flash of pace, there was an equal and opposite explosion. Dive bombs from 3 car lengths back. Late moves that defied geometry. There were incidents everywhere. Hamilton, Perez, Gutierrez, Ericsson, Hülkenberg. Remember Britain 2012? Maldonado charged into the corner and collided with Perez so violently that he launched the Sauberman into the air and over the gravel trap.
Perez trying to go round the outside of Maldonado, then into Brooklands. Maldonado gets out of shape.
Seeing Maldonado in your mirrors felt less like a race situation and more like a warning light. Even calm drivers like Button had their close calls. And if he was anywhere near a braking zone, you could bet the stewards were already reaching for the replay button. Maldonado's chaos came from pure, unfiltered aggression. Once he found his rhythm, the incidents just kept coming, like clockwork. Valencia 2012, the infamous last lap clash with Hamilton while fighting for the podium. Monaco 2012, clatters into Perez in final practice, picks up penalties before the race even begins. Belgium 2013, jump start, contact with Paul di Resta while entering the pits, and a general chaos-filled weekend of misjudged lunges. Singapore 2015, a scrap with Jenson Button ends in predictable contact, prompting Button's legendary radio. I should have known, really, that he's mental. Pastor didn't pick his moments. Chaos was the moment. By 2014, the FIA didn't even need to wait for replays anymore. First lap chaos? That was usually Grosjean. Midfield mayhem 3 corners later? Probably Pastor. Every weekend felt like déjà vu. Different track, same 2 names in the stewarding reports. One Sunday, it was Grosjean clipping Button. The next, it was Maldonado dive-bombing someone straight out of the pits. And sometimes they both joined the party. So when Lotus decided to put them on the same team, the paddock collectively raised an eyebrow. The squad that once flirted with podiums had just assembled the most combustible driver pairing on the grid, and the clock started ticking the moment they were signed. Their styles clashed in strange ways. Grosjean was a first-lap wildcard, prone to misjudgment, but occasionally brilliant when he kept it clean. Maldonado, on the other hand, just sent it anywhere, anytime, and left physics to sort out the rest. Whenever they ended up near each other on track, engineers on the pit wall tensed. Race control prayed. Pairing them wasn't strategy, it was lighting the fuse. The 2014 season gave us glimpses of what was coming. China 2014. Both Lotus cars running in the points until Grosjean's gearbox issue. Malaysia 2014. Maldonado's race lasted only 1 lap after he was involved in a first-lap collision with Jules Bianchi, ending both drivers' chances early. The car was unreliable, but when both drivers were on track together, the real fireworks began. Australia 2014 ended with mechanical failure for Pastor, but Bahrain gave us the perfect, immediate taste of peak Maldonado. Rejoining from the pits, he lunged into turn 1 and slammed into Esteban Gutierrez, flipping the Sauber into the air like a stunt reel. Gutierrez climbed out shaken, but unharmed. Maldonado slapped with a 5-place grid penalty and 3 penalty points. The stewards, deadpan, car 13 caused a collision. And then Spain 2015 arrived. Just a few laps into the race, Maldonado tried to overtake Grosjean around the outside. They made contact. The clash shredded Pastor's rear wing and ruined both drivers' chances at points. Maldonado dismissed it as a very little touch. But Grosjean's angry silence told the real story. 2 drivers who'd forgotten they were supposed to be on the same side. Britain 2015, they took it up a notch. Village corner, lap 1. The kind of incident that makes you wonder if they'd practiced this choreography. It started when Ricciardo touched Grosjean, who was then sent spinning into his teammate Maldonado. The contact sent both Lotus cars sliding, forcing Alonso to swerve directly into his teammate Button. 3 cars out, 1 team's reputation in tatters, and Fernando Alonso delivering one of the most diplomatic yet scathing radio messages in F1 history, blasting the Lotus pair for their utter lack of common sense. These weren't isolated incidents, they were symptoms of a pairing that was always 1 corner away from disaster. The Lotus garage in 2014 to 2015 was unpredictable on every level. The car broke often, the finances were shaky, and the drivers were live grenades. When both cars finished cleanly, it felt like a miracle. When they didn't, it was usually for reasons that involved each other. Meanwhile, the FIA's new penalty point system was in full swing. Maldonado's tally became a running joke. Grosjean popped up often enough to keep the memes alive, and their antics were so routine that a clean weekend felt suspicious. But something shifted in 2015. The chaos stopped being just frustrating. It became beloved. F1 fans treated Grosjean and Maldonado like characters in a sitcom you couldn't script. Every Maldonado under investigation banner became a meme template. Grosjean's Monaco crashes got circus music edits. Twitter brought out Pastor bingo cards every race weekend. And while the memes flourished, Grosjean was quietly changing his story. After Spa 2012, he'd taken the criticism to heart. The first lap chaos gradually faded. The racecraft sharpened. And by Spa 2015, on the very track where his reputation was born, he delivered a flawless podium drive. It was his redemption arc, written in real time.
Incredible, one of the best races of your career, mate. Incredible, incredible, I'm so proud.
Pasta? He doubled down. China 2015 perfectly summarized his unforced errors. After running well, he completely missed the pit lane entrance, losing vital time and position in a bizarre blunder, and collided with Button. His penalty sheet read like a greatest hits album of chaos. And then, suddenly it ended. Grosjean left for Haas, chasing a fresh start. Renault took over Lotus. Maldonado was set to stay, but when his sponsorship collapsed in early 2016, the curtain dropped quietly. His chaos, however, continued right until the end. At the 2015 Japanese Grand Prix, he was penalized for speeding in the pit lane while already serving an earlier penalty. No crash, no blow-up, just a sudden disappearance. His exit wasn't explosive, but his legacy absolutely was. Looking back now, the Grosjean Maldonado era occupies a special chaotic corner of F1 history. They weren't champions, but they changed how fans watched the sport. When either appeared on screen, everyone leaned forward. Not because they'd necessarily pull off a heroic overtake, but because something might blow up in the next 5 seconds. They gave fans endless talking points, rivalries, and memes that still circulate today. And in Grosjean's case, the story didn't end with chaos. His survival from the fiery crash in Bahrain 2020 turned him into a symbol of resilience.
And a big fire there as they exited out of turn 3, and that looks very nasty indeed, and unsurprisingly, that is a red flag.
A man who truly lived through both sides of racing danger. Maldonado, meanwhile, remains the internet's favorite wildcard. A walking highlight reel of, what was that? Moments. Two men. Two very different paths. But for 4 unforgettable seasons, their stories intertwined to create something F1 hadn't seen before and hasn't seen since. They weren't rivals in the traditional sense. They didn't fight for titles. But together they turned every race into an unpredictable spectacle. Grosjean brought the first lap chaos. Maldonado brought the unfiltered aggression, and the FIA brought the penalty forms. The legacy of the Chaos Kings isn't written in championship points. It's written in stewarding reports, fan forums, and the memories of anyone who ever watched turn one nervously when Grosjean lined up, or flinched when Maldonado lunged. And so, the question remains, who was the true king of chaos? Romain Grosjean or Pastor Maldonado? Tell us who gets your vote down below, and don't hold back. We want full turn one energy. If you enjoyed this chaotic trip down memory lane, smash that like button harder than Pastor going for a gap that doesn't exist. Drop a comment and settle the debate once and for all. And hit subscribe, because unlike Grosjean on lap 1, we promise not to take you out before turn 1.